We'll talk about anxiety, and we talked about earlier how we all feel like we suffer from anxiety on a certain level.
Yes. I think, like, if I think about the older and more independent my children get, I have anxiety over, like, turning them more loose into the world because I don't want any harm to come to them, of course. Or, you know, sometimes if you have to have an uncomfortable conversation with somebody. I mean, generally speaking, I don't think I'm anxious throughout the day, but there are certain situations that definitely make me anxious.
Absolutely. I spoke to the experts over at Integrated Pain Associates about anxiety. Take a listen.
You know, that's a difficult subject because, I mean, anxiety is real. I mean, it's an Axis 4 diagnosis with regard to, you know, our psychiatry population. Anxiety is real, PTSD is real, but what we've had decided for us, and rightfully so, is the co-administration of a narcotic and a benzodiazepine from the CDC has said that, look, that's a black box warning and we should really avoid that at all costs because it's a roll-up effect on the patient. Those two medications are both sedating. They both, in conjunction, put the patient at a much, much higher risk with regard to death. So what happens is the policy comes from a righteous place, a place of correctness. But when we try to roll it out in front of the patients, it becomes difficult for the patients to absorb in their own life because they have the anxiety, they live the anxiety every day, and they also have the pain every day. So the dilemma becomes one of a patient having to make a choice between living with their anxiety or living with their pain. And I mean, I can't imagine personally having to make that choice, but it's been a choice that we've had to meter out patients as we minister to them in their pain.
So PTSD is something that we here in Killeen see quite a bit of with our proximity to Fort Hood and our patient population. PTSD is essentially an intrusive reenactment or reliving a traumatic event, and it becomes so intrusive in a patient's life that it starts to affect their ability to go outside and take care of normal tasks. They develop anxiety. They have significant fight or flight response. And so some of the recent literature that has come out suggests that doing a simple nerve block in the neck may provide significant pain relief and significant relief of anxiety and their PTSD symptoms that may last up to a lifetime. This is a study that was essentially done at the VA with multiple veterans over the last 5 years, and so that information is very powerful, and we think that we may also be able to treat anxiety at some point in the future with these simple nerve blocks.
Right, and I think part of the anxiety being at Fort Hood is groups. They don't like large groups. I mean, you typically see the most of our soldiers, their biggest anxiety position is typically going out into large groups because of the way the anxiety or the roadside bombs or things happened over in the war zones in the Middle East, and so it really becomes debilitating. They can't go to the store, they can't go to the Walmart, they can't go out and go to social events, and so that goes back to the first question, which was, well, what are you doing with anxiety and PTSD? Well, that couples back to if they've got damage from something that happened in the war, and then you couple this with this crippling ability to get outdoors, it really becomes just a terrible choice for all of us.